They fired an intercontinental ballistic missile at Diego Garcia. That's 4,000 kilometers. I've been warning about this all along. Now they have the capability to reach deep into Europe. They've already fired at a European country, Cyprus. They're putting everyone in their sights. And fourth, they are disrupting an international maritime route, an energy route, and trying to blackmail the entire world. What more proof do you need that this regime, which threatens the entire world, needs to be stopped? Israel and the United States are working together around the world, and it's time to see the leaders of other countries join in. I'm happy to say that I see some of them starting to move in that direction. But more is needed. The appeal from President Trump for the international community to confront this fanatical terrorist regime of zealots. It's not just a call for the safety of the United States and Israel, but for the safety of the entire world, and it's time for them to act.
Sir, what will your response be to this attack against Israeli civilians?
We are responding with great force, but not against civilians. We are going after the regime, we are going after the IRGC, this criminal gang, and we are going after them personally. Their leaders, their facilities, their economic assets, we are going after them with great force.
What does victory mean for this campaign?
Well, we have defined two clear objectives. One is to completely destroy their nuclear program, completely destroy their missile program, and completely destroy their ability to produce components for both programs. We are on track for that. We want to create conditions for the Iranian people to overthrow this tyranny that torments them, makes their lives miserable, and affects the whole world. And I hope we can achieve that as well.
During the night, President Trump said that if the Iranians do not open the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours, there will be attacks against the power grids in Iran. Are you going to participate in these attacks? And what do you think should happen next in this campaign? Thank you.
I think President Trump knows exactly what he's doing, and everything we do together and as much as possible discreetly. Thank you.
When the Prime Minister was leaving, I asked him about President Trump, and he talked about the great relationship these two leaders have in the midst of Operation Epic Fury. The operation is now in its fourth week, and we expect more intense attacks on the Iranian regime in the coming hours and days. Guys.
So the Prime Minister said he was hopeful that some of the leaders of other countries were starting to align and take this seriously. Regarding trying to open the Strait of Hormuz and bring some order to Iran, who do you think he was talking about there?
He speaks in general about the Gulf countries, and I spoke over the weekend with another source who mentioned that Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the Emirates, and Bahrain are watching the attacks against themselves by the Iranian regime with drones and missiles, and they understand that the situation must change very quickly. According to our findings, there are behind-the-scenes talks for Gulf countries to get more directly involved and take offensive actions against the Iranian regime, which is not only threatening their energy infrastructure but also their civilian population, guys.
And Trey, so you asked there at the end the Prime Minister about what happens in 48 hours. Obviously, he's saying that President Trump will do what he thinks needs to be done, and Israel will stand by him. But explain to us a bit more how that could be, because if we're talking about 48 hours, we're saying that by around Tuesday, we'll see something we haven't seen yet in this conflict.
We need to broaden our perspective to see the reality on the ground and the battlefield exactly as it is. Currently, the Iranians can respond to the attacks from the U.S. and Israel however they choose. We saw this last week when the Iranians responded to the Israeli attacks on the South Pars gas field. They retaliated against the Ras Laffan facility in Qatar, on the other side of the Persian Gulf. We saw the attack in southern Israel yesterday following reports the United States targeted the facility. The Iranians responded with ballistic missiles very close to where Israel houses its nuclear research centers. So this war is escalating in a certain way, and there is an escalation ladder. The question is, if the U.S. or Israel attack the power grid and power stations in Iran, what will the regime's response be? We don't know what will come, But Israelis and Americans are preparing for the reality that this war is evolving in ways that will threaten U.S. forces in the region and allies in the Middle East.
Trey, you said we don't know what happens next.
Or
You know, if those energy centers are attacked, what do you expect? I mean, I'm sure you have sources. You just talked to Benjamin Netanyahu. Someone must be, running war simulations for this. What would happen? I mean, what's likely? The target will be Israel. And if the Gulf states said, and it could be their desalination plants, what then? What can we expect next?
We don't know for sure, but last week I spoke with President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, and both leaders indicated that there are options on the table, perhaps unknown to the public. And this is a crucial point for us to discuss here, what we know about what President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu discuss in public. It's only part of what they talk about in secret and about the military options against Iran. If attacks like this one, which injured more than 100 people, happen again, the short answer is that we don't know, but there are several options. Regarding the energy infrastructure in Iran and the Strait of Hormuz, the president was clear about wanting to reopen this waterway. Critical. The Iranians have anti-ship missiles and equipment on the coast, and the United States and Israel could attack those depots and launch positions.
I found your question at the end interesting. There, when the Prime Minister spoke, he listed the two objectives he wanted to see achieved. One of the objectives was to eliminate their nuclear and missile programs, and the second was regime change, which is quite different from President Trump's very focused objective from the beginning, including his latest, the reports that he is willing to work with the regime. If they agree to all these points about eliminating the missile program, allowing inspectors in, eliminating the nuclear program, their nuclear program.
So that seems to me like a pretty big difference between the goals that Netanyahu has and the goals that the Iranians have. For sure. And there are several points that the Israelis and the Americans are looking at from different angles, I would say. In the past week, we've seen significant ground preparation operations for specific attacks by Israeli forces against the Iranian regime. Within 48 hours, Ali Larijani, the Secretary of Iran's National Security Council, was eliminated. Also killed were Commander Soleimani, head of the Basij of the IRGC, and Ismail Khatib, the Minister of Intelligence. All these individuals played distinct roles in the repression of protesters this year. Israel is clearly trying to lay the groundwork to, if a decision is made, encourage protesters to return to the streets of Iran and protest against the regime. Thus, both the United States and Israel have similar but different objectives regarding this operation. There are several intersections, including the Strait of Hormuz. Understand that the impact spreads throughout the entire global energy economy.
Yes, they also have a different tolerance for war, right? Israel has been under attack for a long time, and its tolerance for this kind of war chaos is much higher than that of the United States, or I would say than its Gulf neighbors. So how do they reconcile that? I mean, if you're in a partnership with someone in a war that has, as Charlie said, maybe different objectives, Trump may have more limited objectives than Israel, which do not include, as far as I know, regime change. Although he might welcome that if it happened, but it's not, as far as we know, it's not in the plans. There's also this tolerance for war. With an America that's tired, that trusts Trump to take control and manage this, with a partner who might have different goals.
The Israelis understand Trump's goals. In the Middle East, he ended the war between Israel and Hamas and rescued the hostages. Something that was a very personal issue for the Israeli public. And not only did he manage to do that, but he also managed to create the Peace Council, which brought together those countries in the region that previously did not cooperate, with the goal of promoting stability and peace throughout the Middle East. And the Iranian regime was seen as the last obstacle in President Trump's efforts. So I think the Israeli people really understand the vision that President Trump has for the region, and they understand that they will benefit if they can get through this war relatively unscathed. And the reality is that Israeli civilians are dying, missiles are falling on this country, like right here behind me, where more than 100 people were injured. But understanding the relationship between the United States and Israel and the popular support that President Trump has here in Israel, that's what we've been hearing from people when they find out we're from the United States. They say, President Trump, thank you. They are thanking him because they understand that he is eliminating an existential threat to the Israeli people. The Iranian regime, a regime that has threatened Israel with ballistic missiles and drones, and through its regional allies such as Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. So the people see the effects of the war, but they are also willing to pay a price. That's why they understand that war has a price, but it's a price they are willing to pay. Yes, all right, thank you, Trey Live, Trey Enrod, Israel Trey, great interview. We'll get back to you throughout the morning.